Hello. So today's video is going to be me doing a yoga session in ASMR form. So obviously this is a ASMR channel, so I'm going to be softly speaking, and you can either join me in relaxing and I will guide you through my practice, or you can use this video to just relax and hopefully it will calm you down. So just a disclaimer, I am not a professional. If anything doesn't feel right in your body, do not do it. But let's get started. So we're going to start by coming onto our knees in the back of the mat and taking a few deep breaths to settle in. Now, spreading our legs, feet together, knees apart, lifting arms up and coming into a child's pose, where we can reset, take some deep breaths in and out and settle in, relaxing into the practice. Then coming forward onto all fours, and we are going to turn our wrists to face our body, just to stretch them out and move your hips in a circular motion, stretching out your wrists, and then coming back to all fours for some cat-cow. So breathing in as your belly lowers down and hips and head rise, and then the opposite, stretching the back, stretching the back. And now we're just going to take some hip circles or the shape of an 8 with our hips, stretching out the spine before coming into an upward facing dog and back into child's pose. Upward facing dog and back into child's pose. And remember to breathe if you are joining me. Upward facing dog, and breathe out as you come back to child's pose. Breathing in, upward facing dog, lifting the hips, breathing out into downward facing dog, where I'm just going to be walking out my hips before coming forward. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, and walking it out, stretching out my legs, stretching out my legs. Now we're going to do a twisted downward dog, bringing the opposite hand to the opposite leg, and then coming forward, switching sides, remembering to breathe. Now, upward facing dog, and breathe out, coming back to child's pose. Now, sliding our chest and arms forward into puppy posture. Remember to breathe, chest to the ground, hips up, then coming forward into a Sphinx posture, and taking any adjustments you need, like I'm having to fix my hair, into Sphinx posture, breathing, deeply breathing, and now upward facing dog, and downward facing dog, walking it out, and now lifting one leg up to the sky. You'll see the fridge is in the way, so I'm struggling a bit. Then coming into pigeon pose. Now, remember, everybody's body is different, and you're going to have days where you can do something, days your hips are looser than other days. I was having a day where my hips were very tight, so I couldn't get my hips as low to the ground as I usually can, and that's okay, because yoga is a practice and about the feeling more than the movement. We're going to switch by coming back to upward facing dog, downward facing dog, walking it out, walking it out, walking it out, lifting the opposite leg, banging my foot against the fridge, and the opposite side. Foot to the opposite thumb, walk it back, make sure that the leg is directly in the center of the mat. Breathe in deeply, and then if you feel comfortable, come down into your forearms, your elbows, and breathe deeply. Breathe into the posture, relaxing all the muscles. Coming back up. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. You'll notice yourself getting deeper each time you come into these practices as your body loosens. Now we're stepping forward. To a standing forward fold. Bend your legs, your knees if you need to, and breathe deeply. Coming up halfway and back down. Then standing right up, reach up high. Hands to heart. Me taking another adjustment, that's alright. Hair was not cooperating with me today. Arms up to the sky. You can do a slight back bend if you're comfortable, and then swan dive back down, up halfway, back down, stepping one leg back, and we're going into a twist, keeping your knee over the ankle, twisting from your core, not your back, and stepping forward, forward fold, standing up to the sky and back down, up halfway, back down, stepping the opposite leg. You can see I did the wrong leg, opposite leg, and twisting the opposite side. Twisting from the core, remembering to breathe deeply, and stepping forward again, back upward facing dog, downward facing dog, walk it out, release any tension from the low back, release all the tension, what no longer serves you. Now I'm going to come forward and we're going to go into a wide-legged forward fold. So spread your legs as wide as you comfortably feel is right for your body today. Slightly turn your toes in, lift up to the sky and down to the ground. Bringing my hands in line with my knees and my feet. Bringing my elbows and head to the ground. And breathing deeply. Breathing deeply. Breathing deeply. Now we're going into a twist. Put one hand in the center, other arm to the sky, and then switch. Switch. Up halfway, back down. Up halfway. Now I'm going to go into a frog pose. My hips were very tight today, so I needed to do a lot for them, give them a lot of extra love. So slightly swaying, coming down to my elbows, stretching out my hips and my inner thighs before coming back up. Readjusting again, remembering it's okay. Yoga's not about perfect practices, perfect movement. It's about doing what's right for your body, taking adjustments when you need. Now, legs straight out, arms up, and forward fold, grabbing onto my feet, and as I breathe out, lowering from the hips, closer to my knees, closer to my knees. Deep breaths, deep breaths, deep breaths. We're going to come up and do a Firelog Pose. Another one that's great for opening the hips. So placing one foot on top of the other knee and then coming down and breathing, coming down and breathing, releasing, letting the knee drop and coming back up, just stretching out that leg. It's very tight, stretching it out before swapping and coming on to the other side. Opposite knee, foot on top of opposite knee, and forward fold, breathing deeply, breathing deeply, 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 breathing deeply. Then we're going to come up and go into Camel. So, just stretching out my wrists, coming up onto my knees, lifting one arm, 2 arms, back to my ankles, and dropping my head back. Now my posture in this is not great. Your hips should be above your knees. But it's all about practice. And back into a child's pose to counter-react to that pose. Back onto my knees, swinging my legs to one side, and now we're going to lay on our backs, lay on my back, take adjustments, and going to go into Plow, lifting legs up to the sky, lifting with the core, feet overhead, breathing, and then opening the legs and bringing the knees as close to the ground as possible. Remembering to keep your back supported if you need to. And don't forget your breath. And to come out, stretch the legs out again, support your back come down. Now to counteract that, we're going to go into fish, placing hands under your glutes, press up from your elbows and the top of your head, stretching in the opposite way. Now some forward rolls, back into a seated position, and another forward fold, and I'm starting this one with my legs bent to support my back before straightening out my legs, and it's okay to do that. Just listen to your body. Listen to your body. Breathe, breathe deeply. Breathe deeply. Stretching, pointing and flexing the feet, and coming back into a plank, holding, then dropping to elbows, and we're going to do some twisted planks. Just a few, don't worry. Hold the plank and drop down, upward facing dog, and downward facing dog, walking it out, and hold and breathe, hold and breathe. Take any movements you need. Release everything. Release all the stress, all the tension. Jumping back to the top of the mat, halfway before lowering back down. And rising up, stretching high up, slight back bend, and swan dive to the ground, up halfway and back down, right up and right back down. Now, going to go into another upward facing dog and opposite child's pose, upward facing dog, child's pose, breathing out. Breathing out. Release everything. Just release. And now we're going to come back to a seated position, laying down on our back, and we're going to go into a happy baby after just holding and stretching your back as you need. Coming into a happy baby position. Pulling the knees to the ground and release. Just taking some hip movements to release anything before going into a reclined butterfly and some gentle spinal belly twists, each side. Then hold your knees to your chest, release arms and legs to the ground, letting the practice sink in, letting your breath come back to its normal rhythm, before coming up to one side, then coming up to a seat to close the practice. I'm going to choose a seat of your choice and take a final few deep breaths, lifting your arms up as you breathe in and out as you breathe out. Arms up, breathe in, breathe out. Bring your palms to your head or your heart and take one final deep breath and bow to your own heart. Namaste. I hope this was relaxing for you. As ASMR and yoga, I find, can go quite well together. So I hope you enjoyed this, whether you joined in or just watched. And I will see you next time.